guys, it's Elizabeth from Gabriel Family Adventures, and today I'm going to share a slightly different kind of video than what you're normally used to, and it's to talk about the other thing in my life that I'm super passionate about. So of course I love to travel and document all of our adventures, and the other thing that I love is cycling. I have done a lot of, road trails, and I love outdoor riding, but a few years ago I discovered kind of the new way that people are riding indoors, and that's kind of rhythm-based riding. And so there's lots of different models of this, and they're all kind of different from each other, just slight variations. So you've got your flywheels, your soul cycles, your small independent studios who model off of those, and then there's Cyclebar. And Cyclebar, in my opinion, kind of is the best of everything all rolled into one. And so I love it because it's a 45-minute or an hour workout, and bang for your buck, I think you can get a phenomenal workout in that short period of time. So I started doing rhythm-based rides a few years ago, and the reason for this was that in years past, I'd been to, spinning classes at, 24 Hour Fitness and places like that, and I just kind of thought they were boring. I thought the music was pretty dated, and I'd rather be outside on my bike, right? So then I kind of discovered this new style that's become very popular in the last few years, and it changed everything. It's, the sound systems in the newer studios are phenomenal. There's lights, there's technology. It's almost like you're at a dance club, but you're getting this incredible workout. So I thought to myself, over the years, I was like, oh man, it'd be so fun to not just be a student in this class, but to also teach it. And, I taught high school for many years, and so I do love the process of kind of lesson planning and instructing, an audience and things like that. So I thought it would be kind of a nice marriage of my love of teaching as well as my love of fitness. So what I'm going to talk about in this video is how to apply to become a Cyclestar, which is what they call Cyclebar Instructors, what the audition process is like, and then what the boot camp process is like, and then what does it mean to actually work for a studio. So here we go. Okay, so I decided to take my love of cycling and my love of Cyclebar up another level when we were moving to Colorado. And I thought, what a great chance to kind of start fresh and do something new and fun and different. And so what Cyclebar does, they make it pretty simple for you. On their website, there is a little section that says, apply to be a Cyclestar. And the application is very straightforward, very simple. And it basically asks you, what kind of fitness background do you have, educational background do you have in instructing classes, as well as sort of why. Why do you want to be a Cyclestar? And for me personally, I had zero fitness background. It matters, but it doesn't. What they want, of course, they want you to know basic anatomy. They want you to be able to instruct, especially during the weight song, what muscle groups are you working and things like that. So you should have kind of a general knowledge about physiological properties, but it's not going to make or break your journey. And so you can apply to that, and then what will happen is you'll either be placed on an email list, or you might get a phone call from a studio, depending on where you're going. So if you're going to a market that's already established, maybe there's a few studios already, there's a few things to know about what the application process looks like and what working for Cyclebar looks like. So Cyclebar are individually owned franchised locations. So there is the umbrella company of Cyclebar. They're actually owned by Exponential Fitness. And then there's the individual franchisees. And now someone might own one studio, that's the most common, but then in larger markets, like Denver, Colorado, for example, one owner, she's actually opening up her 3rd studio. So if you work for that particular owner, you can work at all 3 studios. If you work for someone who only owns 1 location, you can only work at that location. They have non-competes, and most of the time they also have non-competes where if you teach cycling somewhere else, so say Lifetime Fitness or a smaller gym or something like that, they will ask you to no longer teach at those other locations. So that is something to think about. You know, if this is how you make your money is by being a cycling instructor, that can be difficult to do if you're just planning on working at Cyclebar, at least in the beginning. There is growth in the company, which is great, but in the beginning it might be kind of tricky to get the number of hours that you would want. So once you apply, if there's an opening, they'll have you audition. What does that mean? Well, in a large market, so for example in Denver, they're opening up a whole new studio, so they're gonna need some new instructors because the number that they have won't be enough to fill the 2 as well as the 3rd studio. So what they did is they actually did kind of an open call where you could come to a class and ride. And what they're going to do is have their master instructors and lead instructors, which I'll explain the difference in a little while, watching to see, you know, your form. Can you stay on the beat of the music? Because that is the most important thing. You know, can you ride to the beat? And if you do, then you'll actually be asked to then do your formal audition. In a brand new market where maybe there isn't a studio, it'll be a little bit different. What they'll do is they'll have you just do an audition of 2 to 3 songs. And those songs will be filmed and you'll be riding to an empty studio. So, but you want to act like there's 50 people in there. And you'll probably want to do a mix of, you know, a fast run out of the saddle, maybe at 80 to 85 RPMs, leg speed, and then maybe do a climb or something else to show that you can change your beat, you can instruct sort of that transition, as well as do a little bit of choreography or an interval in and out of the saddle. Don't get too caught up in choreography though. Don't try to wow them with like 20 different things in one song. Keep it simple and straightforward. I really struggle with my form. I get a little too excited and like a little too bouncy on the bike when I'm up there teaching because it's just so fun. So really try to focus on having good form, you know, squared shoulders, keep your hips back, all that good stuff, all the stuff your instructors tell you every day when you're doing your audition. And pick songs that you know really well. They don't have to be the newest, you know, greatest thing, but something that you know, that you love, that you can get excited about. Now, once they film your audition, they will send it off to their corporate headquarters and they will basically decide if you're gonna move forward to boot camp or not. Simple enough. If you don't make it, they might tell you a few things. They might say, you know, could you audition again? I think you were really nervous. Can you come back next week or next month and we'll have you audition again? And that has happened to several people. They might say, you know, I think you might need more time just riding. So why don't you take some classes and then we'll talk in, you know, a month or 6 months or whatnot. Kind of depending on where they see your level at within those 2 songs. And they'll be able to derive a lot from that audition. So once you make it, not if, but once you make it to boot camp, what that means is that about a week before, and boot camp is 4 days, it's almost always a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So if you have a 9 to 5 job, you will need to take time off for this. It is uncompensated. It's almost kind of part of your interview process. And so about a week before boot camp begins, you'll get an email with some instructions, kind of, what is the 12-song sequence that makes Cyclebar so special, and kind of some tips for each song so that you can be mindful of that and prepare accordingly. And I would recommend preparing a couple sort of hypothetical playlists of things that you would want to teach, once you become an instructor, not if, but when you become an instructor, so that you're prepared. And again, pick songs that you love, songs that have a really fun beat, vary it out. And now I think the best way to prepare for boot camp is to ride in Cyclebar. You know, riding in other classes is different. You know, going to Soul Cycle is not the same. Yes, it's rhythmic. Yes, it's very fun. There, you know, it's dark. There's great music. It's a very different experience. You know, going to some of the privately owned studios are very different. So if you want to be as prepared as possible, and if you can afford it, and if there's one in your area, I strongly recommend just going to Cyclebar, riding as many instructors as possible. Before boot camp, I probably was close to about 200 rides just at Cyclebar. And you'll see everything's different. So even though it's this sort of 12-song sequence with a few variations, every class is completely different. You know, your instructors have their own unique, great personalities. That's what makes it so fun and why you can go every day, because, you know, the different people, they have different tastes in music, and you get a ton of information just riding. Now, sometimes you might pick up a few bad habits. So there were a few things that I saw happen in a class that aren't necessarily kosher, on brand for Cyclebar. But if you make that mistake at boot camp, the master instructors will tell you, and they'll fix it because they want you to succeed. So when you get to boot camp, I would recommend wearing your, you know, your favorite cycling outfit, but bring a backup shirt or more than one. I get really nervous, so I needed to change a few times. But, you know, bring that. Bring your playlists. I recommend putting them on Spotify. It's what all of the studios use, so then it's really easy for you to find yourself, make your profile public. You can find yourself on all of their cool technology, and you're going to do several different rides. So each day you're going to be riding a ton. The days start at 8 a.m., they end around 5, sometimes a little later, and you're riding a lot of that. So over the course of 4 days, you might get up to something like 300 miles on the bike. So, you know, if you want to bring a padded seat, bring a padded seat. Nobody in my boot camp wore the sort of traditional outdoor road cycling shorts, but I'm sure many of us were wishing we had because it's a lot. Now, do you have to go all out every single time someone is teaching and you're in the saddle? No. But, you know, try to stay on beat, try to keep the rhythm, and then when you're up there teaching, definitely give it your all, you know, crank that resistance, find the beat, focus on your form. And while you're there, you're going to be introduced to one, maybe two master instructors. So what's the difference between a master instructor and a lead instructor? A lead instructor is somebody who, there might be one, there might be more than one at the studio, that depending on how, you know, old the studio is, how many classes they offer, things like that. The lead instructor is somebody who basically helps train the other Cyclestars. They're the ones who kind of, you know, watch to make sure that we're kind of all on brand and growing and learning and continuing to do our best every single day. And they are there to be your biggest cheerleader. They're there to build you up, not cut you down, and they want you to be as successful as possible, and they also teach classes at that studio. Then master instructors are people who are the ones who are in charge of the boot camps. There's not that many of them, and so they tend to travel around the country and the world because Cyclebar is opening up all over the place. And they go and they lead these boot camps, and then you'll stay in contact with them. You know, if you have questions and stuff like that, you can contact them on, you know, social media, email, stuff like that. And those master instructors have home studios that they teach at, but it probably won't be your home studio because all of the new studios that are opening, the master instructors already have jobs at their home studios. So they will be there the 4 days. They will be demonstrating different styles of, you know, the 12-song sequence, you know, songs 1, 2, 3, this is kind of what we're looking for, but here's a way to vary it and mix it up. And so you learn so much in those 4 days. You won't be able to retain all of it. I do recommend bringing a notepad to write down some notes if that's your thing and if that helps you retain information. It's fine. And you are going to be kind of thrown in the mix with 10 to 14 other people who also want to be Cyclestars. And that can be a lot of pressure. So something to remember. First thing is the master instructors want you to pass. At the end of boot camp, you're going to do a 12-song ride without any feedback from the master instructors. They're going to sit back and take notes on every single song and your choreography, your intervals, all that stuff. But they want you to succeed, and the entire build up to your test ride is trying to support you, helping you work through your mistakes to get you to the point where you pass. So don't think of it like, if there's 10 other people in boot camp, I'm competing against them. You're actually working with them because they could all be your colleagues at the end of the day. And that's really exciting. So don't think of it as sort of cutthroat. Think of it as we're all in this together. We all want to succeed. So let's help each other. So when someone's up there teaching, I am on beat. I'm looking at them. If they want me to hoot and holler or do the four corners or whatever, I'm gonna do it because I want them to succeed. I want them to kind of feel my vibe as a writer. And then when I'm up there teaching, hopefully the same thing will occur for me with my fellow boot camp attendees. So at the end of those 4 days, you'll do your test ride and hopefully you'll pass. And so you'll sit down, you'll do kind of a feedback, and the feedback is private, so everyone else will ride the ride with you, all the other attendees, and then they will leave. And they'll sit outside, so it's kind of a nice break for them because you've been riding hundreds of miles. And so you'll get your feedback, and they'll tell you right away whether or not you passed before they go into, okay, so song 1, focus on this, song 2, which is a wonderful sense of relief, and it's almost like a weight is lifted off your shoulders. And so after you pass, you might still ride other people's test rides. People might not be done. There's still other activities that occur, but boy, do you feel a lot more relieved after. I sure did. I was like, oh, thank goodness. And I'll tell you, during boot camp, I'm kind of a perfectionist. I am not a super naturally athletic person, even though I exercise every day and I really love it. It doesn't come naturally to me. And, I didn't grow up dancing for years and years, so finding the beat can sometimes be challenging. So I made a lot of mistakes the first few days of boot camp. My voice is too high in the microphone because I get so excited that it goes up like 6 octaves. And the whole time they were giving me feedback, and it was hard. Sometimes it's hard to hear, but again, know they want you to succeed. They want you to pass. They want you to continue on in your journey. So everything they said, I really tried to take in, and sometimes the next time I'd be up there, I made the same darn mistake, but they'll keep working with you. And even if you don't pass, for most people, they'll say, okay, look, I want you to continue to ride. I want you to work with your lead instructor. And in 2 weeks, either film or come to another studio where there's a master instructor and do another test out ride. So you have opportunities, even if you don't pass on that day, to still be a Cyclestar and not have to do boot camp all over again. So once that's done, you're like, oh my gosh, I got a job. This is great. So what does that mean? So what it means is that your studio, you might be thrown into the schedule right away. If it's an established studio, you might do something like a free community ride where basically they're introducing you to the community as a whole. You might do a free friends and family ride. Those are typically not compensated, but it's a way to kind of bring people in so that they can get to know you. Or, for me, I have my free friends and family ride coming up in a few days. I'm super excited. I'm also terrified to have, 20 people that I know and love. I know they're hoping I do well, but what if I crash and burn? But it introduces them to the brand also. So they say, well, what is this cycling thing all about? And people who don't cycle indoors or have never been to Cyclebar, they might be like, oh, they might think everything that I thought before I discovered it. Like, oh, it's boring, it's this, it's that. And then you go to class and you're like, Oh, this is awesome. So you'll do one of those, and then if it's a brand new studio, they do something called free blast rides, and that could be anywhere from a week to some studios do an entire month of free rides to let the entire, neighboring community know what this place is. And those rides are usually totally sold out. They're free, but you have to sign up in advance to get your bike. So it's crazy, it's exciting, it's fun, but when the studio opens and people actually have to start paying for classes, it probably won't be that busy right away. You'll have to kind of build it up as you go. But it's a really fun way to introduce yourself to the community as a whole and ride. So I'm super excited. I'll do a follow-up video in a few months letting you know how everything is going. I can't wait to be able to teach my classes. I've been making fun playlists on my Spotify account for months now because I just love that sort of thing, and I'm so excited that it's finally here. So if you want to follow along to that, definitely subscribe to this channel, or if you like to travel, subscribe, because that's what I do most of the time is my travel blog and these video logs about fun places to go and stay and what to do, especially if you have kids. So thank you so much, and I'll see you later.